Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Louisville, to start with them and start with the positives. Because again, when you say 96-88, an 8-point victory, I don't know that you can say it was a butt kicking, but if you watch the game, it actually kind of was a butt kicking pretty much. I can't quite say from start to finish, but it was a butt kicking as far as how the game played out. I know it was an 8-point margin of victory, but if you watch the game, Louisville was up by 20 in the second half. Couple things. Kentucky, to its credit, made a little bit of a run. Louisville also missed a crap ton of free throws. So the 8-point margin isn't really reflective of, kind of how one-sided it was. I'd add this. That's part of the reason I didn't go live on Tuesday night, because I said, feels like both fan bases might be a little bit mad after this one. Louisville feels like they should have won by more. Kentucky struggled, but Louisville does get the victory in a game that, as I said, frankly, just was not as close as the final score probably indicated. In terms of what stood out with Louisville, a couple things with Louisville. First of all, I think bigger picture, this is what I've been talking about with Louisville since this roster came together back in April. Okay, I remember I was at the Final Four. Producer Matt and I were in a hotel lobby doing a live show. And I remember, Louisville, if you remember, they lost early in the tournament. The portal opens after the opening weekend, and it's like boom, or after this, I think it was the Sweet 16, whatever. But boom, boom, boom. It's like Louisville's just getting kid after kid after kid. Ryan Conwell, Adrian Woolley, Isaac McNeely. And you're like, oh my God. They just put together a filthy roster, and a roster that I think really kind of wanted to play the way that Pat Kelsey plays. Led by MueL Brown Jr., point guard, a lot of three-point shooting around him, and some big, athletic, mobile bigs. And so I just bring it up because I thought Wednesday night was the night that it all came to fruition, right? The night where all of the pieces, all of the planning, it all came together in a team that put up 96 points on Kentucky and very much looks like a ACC contender for sure, and a team that, as I've said, and as I think most people have said, one that is good enough to be playing in Indianapolis on the final weekend. Specifics on the game for Louisville, besides the fact that they were just awesome, and they, the offense, when it's clicking at the highest level, is elite. 53 points in the first half. I think the first thing is, listen, MueL Brown Jr. is who I told you he was. And it's funny, right? Because with MueL Brown Jr., he had the head-to-head game with Darren Peterson. He did not play well. And I think there were a lot of people, some of them wearing blue. Oh, he's overrated. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. No, he's not. He's awesome. I said it from the beginning. I said it really, my infatuation, if you want to call it that, with MueL Brown Jr. really started in July. If you remember that Team USA U19 event happened, they go over to Switzerland, and I think in hindsight, let's go ahead and talk about it, because MueL Brown Jr. he was second in scoring, led the team in assists, great three-point shooting, and look who was on that team in hindsight. Koa Pete was on that team. You may have seen him drop 30 on Florida a few days ago. AJ DeBonsa was on that team. He's been awesome so far for BYU. Tyron Stokes, I know it's been an interesting couple weeks, but he is a very talented player. And I just bring it up because MueL Brown Jr. was the best player on that Team USA team. And so the notion that he had one bad game against Kansas, what does it mean? It means nothing. He had a bad game. And I think on Monday night, or I keep saying Monday, I don't know why Monday, but Wednesday night, or Tuesday night, I think it was just so reflective of who this dude is and what makes him special. 6'4", 6'5". He's a dude who had two separate growth spurts in high school. Went from 5'11" to 6'2", and then 6'2" to 6'5", completely in control of the game. And I think what stands out to me is that in a sport that has never been older, you think about all the players that were on the court on Tuesday night, I'm going to get that right eventually. Tuesday night on both sides, he was the best player. And think about how old some of those guys are. And that's not a knock. This is just the world of college basketball. Isaac McNeely, older player. Ryan Conwell, fourth, fifth-year player. This is for Louisville. Denzel Aberdeen, fourth-year player. Otega Owe, fourth-year player. The best dude on the floor was an 18-year-old freshman in MueL Brown Jr. If you watch the game, you know the stats. Finished the game with 29 points and 5 assists, had 20 points at halftime. And I think the other thing that's interesting about it is if you watch the game, you know he cramped up pretty bad in the second half and had to miss, I don't know about significant amount of time, but probably 4 or 5 minutes of game action. So if he had 29 points and 5 assists and he missed 4 or 5 minutes of game action, imagine what he could have done if he had played, the full 36, 37 minutes that Pat Kelsey probably planned on playing him. Completely dominant. There's a number of plays that you can go to. I think the one that probably stood out to me the most, it was right before halftime, is that Kentucky's trying to do anything to get some momentum going into the half. And MueL Brown Jr. final play just blows, boom, right past Jalen Lowe, easy bucket, ends the half, and Louisville's in control. I think beyond MueL Brown Jr., a couple other thoughts. First of all, Sonata Frew, the big man from Germany, I'll say this. I didn't know that it was apparently it was a thing in the Louisville, Kentucky media all week long that Kentucky had some big advantage in the paint. I don't know that I thought that coming in. I think I said in the preview that I did on Monday night, I said it's going to be controlled by the point guards and it's going to be controlled by the big guys. Well, we know MueL Brown Jr. dominated. And then I thought Sonata Frew had an awesome game down low. As a matter of fact, Matt, you could pop up the tweet that I sent you this morning. So I said this after the game, or I guess there was technically about 30 seconds left. I didn't tweet a Louisville win because I wanted to make sure they closed it out. But I said there are a lot of reasons it looks like Louisville is going to beat Kentucky tonight, but maybe one of the most underrated ones is this. Sonata Frew has absolutely bullied Brandon Garrison down low, key hidden X factor in that game. So I'll say this about Sonata Frew. One, he had Brandon Garrison in a blender. Brandon Garrison, former McDonald's All-American. Sonata Frew, for people who do not know, 6'11". He's from Germany. Yes, he's one of those older European players that has come to college basketball. They're all, every time I turn on a game, it's Andrea Jelovic, Kentucky, Luka Bogovic, North Carolina, David Mirkovic at Illinois, Sonata Frew at Louisville. I just thought that they had no answers for him down low, and Brandon Garrison couldn't do much of anything. 10 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks for Sonata Frew. I thought Ali Khalifa gave them some good minutes off the bench. Remember, Ali Khalifa is a player that played for Mark Pope at BYU. He enters the portal. I mean, there are tweets you can find of me saying, if Mark Pope brings this kid to Lexington, because I think at the time the thought was he was going to come to Lexington, follow Mark Pope. I said, that guy's going to be a crowd favorite. Well, I bring it up because I thought he played well off the bench. I don't know that the stats fully back it up. But the one thing I will tell you, I mentioned this, by the way, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for Ali Khalifa. I'll say this with Louisville. I think I've mentioned this, but in October, I was in Vegas for a speaking engagement, okay? It was college basketball, NIL stuff. And there was somebody on the Louisville staff at this event. And so after my panel, I'm kind of just walking the hallway, grabbing a water, whatever. And somebody stops me and says, dude, work with Louisville basketball. I won't name his name, but, love what you do. Love what you do for college basketball. And, we started talking about the team. And I went into my MueL Brown Jr. rant, and he goes, dude, we love MueL. We love the backcourt. He goes, I think the front court, I don't think people realize how good Ali Khalifa is, how good, Sonata Frew is. And so that to me was the X factor, is the front court just bullied Kentucky. And we're certainly going to get to Kentucky in a minute. I think the last thing, if you're a Louisville fan or if you're Pat Kelsey, that you have to be pretty excited about, I'll tell you, it's the fact that I think all things considered, I don't, listen, I didn't listen to all of Pat Kelsey's comments after the game, so I don't know if he addressed this. If you're Louisville, I don't think you can sit there and say that you played your A++ game for 40 minutes. You did in spurts, you did in moments, you completely controlled the game for stretches. You didn't dominate this game, though, from start to finish. I mean, first of all, look at the game. I mentioned it off the top. A bunch of missed free throws late. They missed 10 free throws overall, and I think about 6 or 7 probably in the final 4 or 5 minutes. So you put up 96. You probably, if you just make a couple late free throws, easily hit 100 and win by double figures. The other thing, we know that Louisville wants to take a lot of threes and make a lot of threes. 13 of 40 from behind the arc. Again, Ryan Conwell is a career 41% three-point shooter. He was pretty much on point the whole game. Isaac McNeely, I think it's kind of worth noting on him. He was like a 42, 43% guy, 3 of 7 last night. And I don't think that he probably feels like he did as much as he normally will for this Louisville Cardinals team. So I just bring it up because great win for Louisville. I think this was, by the way, we talk about the freshmen, another national coming out party, this for MueL Brown Jr. He's special. I've said, I think he would, I thought he would be in the MueL Brown, in the AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson conversation by the end of the year. Might have to add Caleb Wilson to that list as well because he's been awesome. Koa Pete's been awesome. But my goodness, what a night for the Louisville Cardinals. And, I know we got a lot of Kentucky fans that listen to this show, but I'm happy to see Louisville back. I mean, they are a program that for most of my life has been a top-tier college basketball program. It has not looked that way the last couple years, but you could see Pat Kelsey turning this thing around in real time, and they get the signature win they've been waiting for against the Kentucky Wildcats.